The fist shattered the air just before it shattered his jaw. For Detective John Nolan, the pain was a white-hot bloom, both familiar and foreign. It was a rookie mistake entering an apartment solo on a low-priority noise complaint. Now the suspect, a man of coiled rage and cheap cologne, was on top of him, his knuckles painted with Nolan's blood. Each blow was punctuated by a scream, "You don't listen! You never listen!" But it wasn't the fists that changed Nolan, it was what happened after. 2 weeks later, the bruises had faded to a sickly yellow. The department shrink had cleared him. The captain gave him the close call, "Glad you're okay," slap on the back. On the surface he was fine. But then he stood on the threshold of a different apartment for another noise complaint, his hand hovering over his service weapon. The peephole was a dark, staring eye. He heard a muffled argument inside, a man's raised voice, a woman's pleading tone. Standard domestic. His partner, Chun, sensed it. "You good, Nolan?" "Fine," he clipped, his knuckles white on his gun. The door swung open. A man, flushed and sweaty, glared at them. "What?" he demanded. Behind him, a woman nervously wiped her hands on a dish towel. The air smelled of burnt food and fear. In that moment, Nolan's training evaporated. He didn't see a resident. He saw the suspect from 2 weeks ago. He didn't hear a question. He heard the echo, "You don't listen." A cold, electric certainty flooded his veins. This man is violent. He is a threat. He will attack. "Step back, sir." Nolan barked, his voice too loud, his draw too quick. His weapon was already halfway out of its holster before Chunna's hand landed firmly on his arm. "John," she said, her voice low and calm. "He's just asking a question." The man in the doorway paled, raising his hands. "Whoa, officer, it's just the stereo. I'm turning it down." Nolan blinked. The scene snapped back into focus. The woman wasn't cowering, she was just annoyed. The man wasn't coiled to strike. He was terrified of the rookie cop with a twitchy trigger finger. Nolan realized with a sickening jolt that the only aggression in the room was his own. That was the moment he understood. The abuse hadn't just hurt his body. It had rewritten his core beliefs, the very software of his mind. The first belief to go, the world is predictably safe. It was replaced by a new terrifying creed. The world is a hidden trap. Danger isn't the exception. It's the rule, lurking behind every door, in every raised voice. The second belief that shattered, my judgment is sound. The replacement was corrosive. My instincts are broken. What I perceive as a threat is likely a mirage, and what I dismiss as nothing could be the thing that kills me. And the third, the one that defined him, I am the protector. That was ripped away and replaced with something monstrous. I am the liability. My presence doesn't diffuse situations anymore. It escalates them. I have become the very thing I swore to stop. Back in the squad car, the silence was as thick as fog. Chun didn't start the engine. "The guy from 2 weeks ago," she said, not as a question, but as a statement. "He's not in that apartment, Nolan, but you left part of yourself in his." The truth of it was a deeper ache than any punch could ever deliver. The abuser's goal wasn't just to inflict pain in the moment. It was to install a virus in the victim's operating system. To make you carry their rage, their paranoia, their view of a monstrous world long after they're gone. Your own mind becomes the crime scene, replaying the tape of their violence on an endless loop. Healing wasn't about the bone. It was about the belief. It was the exhausting, daily work of walking up to a door and consciously choosing to believe, against every screaming nerve, that peace was more likely than violence. It was hearing a shout and forcing his brain to run an alternative script. This is frustration, not fury. A bad day, not a prelude to an assault. Months later, he responded to a bar fight. A big man was swinging, drunk and angry. As Nolan moved in to subdue him, the man's fist flew. Nolan saw it coming. But this time he didn't see the past. He saw a drunk, sad man. He blocked the punch, restrained him, and cuffed him. Clean. Professional. As they loaded the man into the back of the unit, he started sobbing. "I'm sorry," he wept. "I just lost everything." Nolan looked at him, and his voice was quiet but steady. "Everyone has a breaking point," he said. It wasn't just empathy for the man. It was a message to the ghost in his own head. "I see the difference now. The body heals. Bones knit. Bruises fade. But the beliefs etched into your soul by someone else's hands? Those you have to dismantle and rebuild yourself, one terrifying, conscious choice at a time. The real battle wasn't on the street. It was in the quiet space between hearing a sound and deciding what it meant. And for the first time in a long time, Nolan felt he was winning. This story explores the invisible wounds that often run deeper than any physical injury. If you were moved by this journey and want more powerful stories that dive into the human experience, subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.